Hello, welcome to 52 Weeks Live. I'm Alexa Hampton, and I'm going to give Mikel Welch a couple of minutes to join. Oh, there he is, right there. Hey, there you go. So prompt today, I love it. Hey, everybody.
Hey,
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well with yourself.
Aren't we the promptest people ever?
You know what? If you had seen how chaotic my life was 10 minutes before here, I literally jumped out of a taxi cab from an aggressive 3 hours at the DMV that ended in nothing. So
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not realize the format of Instagram had changed.
yes.
I mean,
Oh
of
my
live.
gosh.
I mean, I knew the other one had changed, but this is my
Right.
first live, so I was like, oh no, bad time to discover this.
I know,
But,
right? I woke up this morning and I'm like, wait a minute, my name is in big, bold, tacky letters, and I did not do this. But
that is so not you. So thank you for doing this.
Of
Thank
course.
you for joining.
Yes.
Really, it's just an attempt to get to know your mother better because she sounds so fun and reminds me of mine in a small way. By the way, my mother is watching, so I'm sure she's like, what is she talking about? What does she mean?
Listen, if my mother is watching, I can't say anything else because she gave me a disclaimer that I cannot villainize her anymore on social media.
Oh, no. And I'm not going to cast her as the villain. I'm going to cast her as the hero because
Thank you. Oh,
she is your lucky talisman, as far as I can tell.
She is.
So that's the news story. She's your talisman.
Yes.
So anyway, we're talking about that. Nobody knows what we're talking about. So let's start with, I love asking everybody, how did you get into this business?
Woo. Okay, so I'll give you the short
No, give me I'm strapped in and look.
Well,
I have my Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I've got time.
It's 1 o'clock, obviously, here in New York, so I have a little sip of wine. So hopefully that's appropriate. Yeah. It's during these times, I feel like all things go.
Oh, yeah. So,
long
started with personal care. The only time I wear makeup is for Instagram Live.
There you go. So long story short, it's kind of, I don't want to say cliche, but I had an Oprah aha moment, right after graduating from college. You know, after college, you're like, okay, well, what do I do? I have.
And what were you studying in college?
Marketing.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so I'm a self-taught designer. My mother, she was a journalist and a television host, and she said, you need to find.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay. Again, more talisman.
Yes. So she's kind of like, you need to figure out what it is you want to do in life. And she said, you'll know what it is because you'd be willing to do it for free. And 21, you just want to pay your student loans.
I'd be a cheese taster.
Listen, I would be a sommelier, but
yeah,
listen,
totally.
I can't do that. So anyhow, I ended up taking a job at Bloomingdale's, and I was like, oh, I like clothes. I'll figure it out. I hated the job, and I just remember specifically on one break, walking through Crate and Barrel.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any money, and I had spent 40 minutes of my 45-minute break in Crate and Barrel, and it was literally one of those TV montages.
Yeah, totally.
Thinking about all my Metropolitan Home magazines back then that I was studying, and all of these accessories I had in the closet, and I'm like, wait a minute. I should try to pursue interior design. And the short of it was Craigslist was out. And I ended up applying for a job to assist a designer. And I got the job and I worked with him and we were staging model homes.
And happily, it wasn't a serial killer.
It was. Listen.
It's either a great job or you're live.
That was 2007 Craigslist. It was only in 5 cities.
Yeah.
Craigslist. But I ended up doing that for a year, and it really just taught me the art of how to conduct the business of design.
Sure.
We all know, you can love design, but if you're not making money, so I really learned from him, and I hate to say that, I hope he's not watching, but I learned what not to do.
Well, I'm sure my colleagues have learned plenty of what not to do. That's not a total diss. It's not a total diss.
So that's kind of how I started, and I ended up working with him for a year. And I said, you know what? I think God is giving me the talent of design, and now I'm going to merge this with his skill that he taught me, like how to conduct a consultation and just like the art of how to run a business, because I was doing the behind the scenes work. And so I ended up going to Craigslist myself, and I would donate one free room as long as the clients would pay for the furniture. And that's how I built my portfolio.
You are kidding me.
Year.
Oh,
no.
wait.
That's how.
Okay, so also this is a very interesting dovetail into your marketing background.
It came into play.
You said you put out an ad on Craigslist saying,
yes,
I won't skin you alive.
Yeah.
I'll decorate your room for free or at cost.
Yes, exactly. Now, I had add-ons.
You're a genius.
Well, it was so smart because I'm like, how can I build a portfolio?
Yeah.
I don't have clients. And so I was selective. I wouldn't just take anyone because, yes, I would get like 50 responses.
I bet.
But I narrowed it down to the people who had like beautiful spaces and those who had an aesthetic that kind of aligned with the direction I wanted to go. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was like really aggressive. Like I used to go into like new property developments, like in the suburbs. And I had a little mailer and I offered one free room and I would put it in the mailbox. I was super aggressive. I'm like, I got to figure this out. So that's kind of how I started.
That's so great. I am so inspired by that.
It was crazy.
That's
but,
ballsy.
It was. And, I took it a step further. I'm like, okay, I was living in Atlanta and I said, this is not enough for me. And so
first of all, how are you eating and living? How are you feeding yourself?
Then
if you're doing all this stuff for free,
you eat like ramen noodles and $2 chuck at Trader Joe. Like it was fine. Like,
well, first of all, you've just described my favorite meal.
No,
you dropped off the Cheetos, but you have
I mean, honestly, I was so hungry for it. And I think that's the thing that carries me along right now. It's just, I'm so hungry.
So you're like, I'm willing to sacrifice this. This is my chance.
And so, I did that. I ended up moving to New York, thought I was going to hit it big and be like Carrie Bradshaw. It was like, no. I ended up having to work at the Container Store on 59th and Lexington.
But while it took hold of the city the minute it arrived.
It did. Well, you know what? I was very fortunate. So one of my associates who ended up becoming my mentor, we used to do staging, or to really say prop styling for another designer. And she was doing designer show houses. Had no idea what a designer show house even was. And so my coworker was like, hey, I do photo shoots. Do you want to assist me? And I'm like, sure. And our very first project was like doing the Oyster Bay. They have Millionaires and Mansions was the name of the show house. So I went from working on these like $5,000 projects to like a $5,000 like waste can. It was so different. And so that kind of changed my trajectory with design, because now I really think like it's exposure, right?
And it's knowing like, how big can this be?
Yes.
How ambitious can I be? Like, oh wow, I can really go for that.
Yes. And I remember like, I don't know if you're familiar with Billy Stiglia. He was like one of my favorite designers that I saw back then. I used to just like study his work. And so I remember my mentor said, one day you'll do show houses. And I'm like, I can afford this. But fast forward, some almost 10 years later, 7 years later, I did my very first show house in Chicago. I did the Lake Forest show house, and things just kind of changed.
Also a great neighborhood to be doing a show house.
Oh, Alexa, let me tell you how I lucked out on that one, okay? So I skipped so many pieces in the story, but one of the things that helped me out, while I was working in retail, there was a gentleman who came into the store, and I was working at this time at CB2, because I had several retail stints. And he comes in with like pillows and vases. And I'm like, whoa, you got like 8 people in here with you. What do you do for a living? And he's like, I'm a set decorator. And he said, if you ever come to, he was a set decorator for Dexter. And he said, if you ever come to LA, I will put you on the show. Of course he didn't. But I went up there anyhow. And it was fine. And what I did was I said that first week, he never answered the phone. I called him for like a month. And I said, everyone who comes into this showroom who looks like they're shopping for someone other than themselves, like they had a portfolio, I could tell, you know, they were working on a project. I would just ask.
They've got the LL Beanbag.
There you go. Exactly. You know, the one with the initials on it. Yeah,
totally.
That one. So I would ask if I could just shadow. I'm like, I don't want to even get paid, because my whole thing that I learned really early on through marketing is if you're not asking for money, people are more apt to kind of let you in the door. And in the first,
except that that's like against the law now.
Well, now it is.
Intern, and you can get great internships, and now
it totally is.
The universe has made it harder.
I don't want to date myself because I'm only 22, but back when I was a tender 12, that's what I did. And the first week I got a job with Teen Vogue and HGTV, and I worked with the designer Emily Henderson. I was I was one of her assistants on her show. She had just won Design Star, and fast forward a year later, I auditioned for Design Star and I got cast on the show.
I mean,
it was the craziest thing ever.
But what's so cool is it didn't just happen to you. You made it happen. You allowed yourself to be lucky.
Yes.
You put yourself in the path on purpose and repeatedly, and you managed not to have a skin suit made of you. Just
that part.
Really good news. So how long were you on HGTV?
Wait, say it again.
How long were you on HGTV?
Okay, so it was kind of, HGTV Design Star is kind of like Top Chef. And a little birdie told me the show was coming back. I can't tell you who that birdie is, but I heard it's coming back. But I placed in 4th place. And so I was on 8 episodes of the show. I ended up getting a call after the show from the comedian Steve Harvey.
Yeah.
His management team saw me on that show, asked me to move to Chicago to work with Steve.
In what capacity?
Okay, so you know when you're watching, let's say you're watching like Martha Stewart or Rachel Ray, and like the Property Brothers are on, and they're doing like how you can make these barn doors. Well, I would be the one making the barn doors, and then the celebrities stand in and act like they did it. And then, you know, after that, we could be doing, I don't know, we could be doing a totally different segment with Martha Stewart holding a tray of lemonade. And I would have to deck out, like, you know, this entire...
Hi. Sorry. People just get out. My husband. What is he doing? So sorry.
So I did set design. And while I was on the show, I got very lucky. I would have situations where talent wouldn't show up, or they would have to cancel. So if the Nate Burkus would cancel, they would say, oh, Mikel, you already designed the segment. Can you just like jump out there and do the segment? And so that started turning into television episodes. So I hired a publicist because I'm like, I need to make this lucrative.
And professional.
Yeah, exactly. And so my publicist is the one who got me in she's like, you really need to do the Lake Forest Show House if you want people to take you serious. And so the very first show house I did, we designed John Hughes, the producer, like 16 Candles.
Yeah, I know who John. You're now in my generation.
Well, I was so lucky. I got John Hughes' actual man cave where he wrote Home Alone 2. Like he wrote it in the room.
Yeah.
And the first thing they say to me is like, because they have like that. You know what? I've done several show houses, but that one they have like 10 ladies in like in little they have their little cardigans on, and you have to present in front of them. Like it's scary.
Oh, wait, they had veto power?
Yes, because they can decide, because especially when you're a new designer, they decide who gets let into the house.
No, that I understand. Like I'm part of Kip Space, so like submissions and the whole committee goes over it. But that's a different level of freaky.
It is, because it wasn't just submit your portfolio. Submit your portfolio, then you had to bring your board and you had to present. And so they allowed me to come in, and then they gave me a beautiful room. And because I do television, it worked out, because a lot of designers, unlike yourself and I, are afraid to go on television. And so in front of a camera. And so it played in my favor, because they're like, oh, can you do a tour of the house on WGN? And I'm like, sure. So things just kind of spiraled. From that job, I ended up going to work with Faith Hill in Nashville, Tennessee.
How did that happen?
Well, basically the way I always say.
I love how you're like all over the country.
Oh, honey, I'm all over the place right now. It's one of those things where honestly, television is the gift that keeps giving. So once you work with a group of producers, they call you to work on another show. So I got to go work with Faith Hill. And then from there, I came back to New York to work on the Harry Connick Jr. talk show.
Yes, I saw that.
And so I'm kind of like a startup guy. So I'm the one who helps design the set. I get the team rolling, and then I come back to my little bat cave here in New York City. And so that's typically the way it works.
It's really interesting to me how many talented designers love set design.
Yeah.
And like going back to Schinkel. And then just recently I was talking to Alfredo Paredes of Ralph Lauren, and like his heart he really wants to do that too. It's like a muscle that you know, it's cool that you started off doing a lot of that and then expanded into interior design, because I think going the other way is hard. It's a very specific skill.
It is. And you know what? I love both sides of the coin. For me, I love set design because there's a definitive completion date.
Yeah.
And what television teaches you is like, literally when they say the show must go on, the show is going to go on. It's a matter of, do you want to keep your job or not when the show goes on? Yeah. So like, you need to figure it out. So like plan A is great, but you need to have a plan D, F, G, H, I. Like you need to have all of your plans lined up. But it helps me, and it trickles over into my residential clients, because I'm always thinking ahead of like what could go wrong. Not like a negative Nancy, but I'm always
You're just foreseeing it.
Exactly. So I'm always trying to get ahead of that ball. And for me, it was really important to do designer show houses just because I wanted to prove to myself and the rest of the world that because I know like TV designers can oftentimes get a bad rap. So I didn't want to be like known for just spray paint and like glitter. Like I can do more than spray paint. And so it was really important for me to show that I can do both sides. Yeah. And it helps me from different perspectives. I think my high-end clients like it because my mind can think in a different manner where it's like, maybe we can shave some here. And then my TV clients or productions, they love it because they're like, oh, well, we know you can make it look like $1 million. So, and I think I always like to point this out. I think they're separate worlds. So the people who
set design and interior.
Yes, because my high-end clients would never want me to spray paint anything. And so they are separate worlds. And so
you never know.
On the average, like, you know, they want it to pinky and carpet. They don't want it to come from Wayfair.com. Yeah. I love Wayfair, but you know, they're just different worlds. So I separate those two worlds.
I think I'm always telling people how important show houses are. I feel like when my father died, I was able to get into the Kip Space Show House, and I think it was more out of like like a car crash and people slowing down to see what it looked like, to see if I was going to be a complete car crash.
Oh,
and
no.
No, but I mean, you know, there's an unknown quantity. So I do feel like it's really great advice to everybody. Like, if you can figure it out, do it. And it does not need to be a big space.
No.
And sometimes the smallest spaces. I got my best client doing a men's closet.
You never know.
And I called up a suiting store and got suits, you know, props.
Yes.
But yeah, you could do a tiny little thing, and it makes a huge difference.
You know what's so funny? Speaking of show houses, so I'm sure you know Tony Manning, who does.
Tony Manning was my neighbor. He lived in my building on my floor, and was the head of the board.
That's so hilarious.
Like, when I couldn't get things in the building, I'd call up Tony and be like, Tony,
yes,
I'm moving. You gotta help.
Well, Tony Manning, I love him because he allowed me to do so after Lake Forest, I did the traditional home show house.
Yeah.
Because I feel like after you do your first like 1 or 2 show houses, you're like, okay, how do we take it to the next level? And I felt like for me, traditional home, it made sense. It just made sense. And so I did the first traditional house show, the Hampton Designer Show House.
Yeah.
And
of which I am chair.
Yeah. Oh. I feel like we passed each other all the time. We just didn't know it. So he allowed me to do 2015, and then I did 2016. That show house. And so last year, Tony called me and he said, "Hey, I'm now doing the Brooklyn Heights show house. Would you love to do it?" And I was like, "Sure." He's like, "I'll get you a sponsor." And
Absolutely.
I'm like, okay. And so Room and Board ended up being my sponsor. And I'm going to tell you, I was being a diva. So he calls me and he says to me, he says, "Well, I have a lower level." I said, "That sounds like the basement." And so I was just like, "I don't want to do a basement." Well, let me tell you something about that lower level.
Yeah.
That project has been regrammed so many times by like Emily Henderson and Bobby from Queer Eye and so many like even Studio McGee and Amber Interiors, all these big brands. And that project, oh my gosh, I have this one bookcase where I turned all these books around, and that one picture in that lower level turned out to be my saving grace, and it has just afforded me so many opportunities. So you never know from a show house like what's gonna happen from it.
And also, like, if you're given a sow's ear, turn it into a silk purse.
Exactly. Oh, here was the best part. So this, like, you will appreciate this as a show house person. So we're packing up the show house, everything's getting ready to go back to Room and Board. The client of the homes, they're like, "Well, the house hasn't sold yet. We want to purchase all of the furniture in your room." So I only had to send back the accessories. I've never had an entire room.
That is amazing.
So, yeah, me and Tony Manning, I love him. He and Kiera, I love them both.
And he must love you.
I love Tony. He's a good guy. I love him. So I've done 3 show houses with him.
So speaking of brands, I love the story of how you got your furniture line. And I want you to tell it, because we are not making her a villain. We are saluting all mothers' weird relationships with bags.
Yes.
My mother has this too. When she gives me a present, and she wraps it with ribbon, after I open the present, she asks for the ribbon back.
She's gonna recycle it. I love that.
Yeah, and it's so bizarre, and she's a magpie. She wants those little she wants the shopping bags. She wants the ribbon. So tell the story.
I'm not mad at her. Okay, so I participate in High Point in Las Vegas Market, and this was 2018. I decided to go to Las Vegas Market for the first time. And I was booked to do a tour of my favorite showrooms. And that's a lot. Like, I have 60 people. And I tell people all the time, like, just...
You're carrying an umbrella?
Well, but you and I both know, like, we've been on several Zooms. Like, you can only talk about, like, fabrics and... it can become boring sometimes. I'll be honest. Like, I'll say it. It can be boring, and so I have to be entertaining, and I have to keep up this.
You got to sing for your supper.
Yes, because to keep 60 people for an hour, captivated, so that they will follow you and not go other places where they have free cocktails. That's hard work.
Oh my God, we should be like St. Bernard's. We should just have the barrel under our necks. That would keep them there.
Exactly, and so it's so you're herding 60 people with you, hoping they don't deter, and so at the end of doing my talk, I just wanted to go back to the hotel room because I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And my mom is collecting free bags from every showroom. And you and I both know, when they give you a bag, they want to talk to you because they want to sell you something.
Yeah. They're not just bag givers.
Yeah, exactly. But my mother does not see it like that. So she's like, "Oh, this is a free trip to Vegas." And so I told my mother, I said, "Listen, this is the last showroom that we're going in." And she said, "Okay, well, since it's the last, I need you to get 3 bags." And I'm like, "Lady, this is really aggressive, but we will try to get 3 bags." So we go into the showroom. Of course, they start talking. And so this woman, I'm walking
of Yosemite.
At Yosemite. And so I'm talking with my mom, and I'm like, I like that piece of artwork, but I don't like how they put this like silver medallion on it. And this lady stops me, and she says, what did you just say? And I'm like, oh my gosh. I always put my foot in my mouth.
A woman that works there.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. So I'm like, well, I like that piece of artwork, but I really think it's kind of over the top. Like they could have scaled it back and just not put the medallion on there. So the woman says to me, well, what else do you think? Would you mind walking around the showroom? And now I'm rolling my eyes at my mother like, lady, like we cannot leave. Like this is on you. And she's sitting over there like sipping wine.
Right. Surrounded by her.
Yeah, like an appetizer's just smiling. And so at the end of this 20-minute walkthrough, the woman says, you know, I'm going to give you my card, which I figured she would. I looked on the card. She was the vice president of the brand. And she says, we've been looking for a designer to help us revamp our brand. And I would love to have a further conversation about how you could partner with us to create a furniture line.
And what year was this?
This was 2018. And so 2019, all of the pieces were approved. And I did my first showing in January of 2020. So that was the first kickoff. And now,
right under the wire.
Oh, God. But you know what? I know. It's crazy. But I've been very fortunate. My line was picked up by House. And so that's where all the
God, that's wonderful.
Thank you. And then, oh my gosh, I have this right here, I think. I'm super excited. I want to show you something.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited because not only did the line get picked up in House, it also made it to Oprah magazine as one of their favorite things. So one of my chairs got picked up as one of the favorite things. So,
how much has it moved since that happened? Oh, I love it. It's like a Klezmos.
Oh, it's done some wonderful Oprah things. I'll say that. So, yeah.
I mean, that's just like,
oh my God,
the gold standard.
Yeah. And so I'm very blessed and fortunate. My design, you know, my career.
Yeah. Describe your design. Like, I know what it looks like. I've seen it.
I would kind of call it primitive modern. I won't switch the camera right now because the rest, I
was surprised that you used the word primitive because a lot of it is also just so sophisticated.
Oh, well, thank you. You know, I use primitive because I like old, like, I'll hold this up. I'm a big show and tell person.
No, but I liked that you said primitive because there's ballsiness to it.
Well, you know what? I kind of like the thought of like, okay, take Fred Flintstone.
Yeah.
And what would Fred Flintstone do if he were dropped in 2020? And so I like that kind of mix of like old rustic themes.
Yeah.
Like paired with modern. And so that's kind of the wheelhouse that I live in. Like, honestly, when I'm designing for my clients, I always love to have a conversation about where they love to travel, where they love to go to, because that's always where I like to kind of have a starting point for designing a space. So I did the same thing with myself. So I love the Hamptons and Sag Harbor, can't afford a place there yet. So I'm like, you know what? Create a little Sag Harbor cottage in your Queens apartment.
Yeah,
and so that's kind of like the thought process behind those barn doors that lead to nowhere.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, that's like my design aesthetic. Like, I just love like old.
So like rugged and organic.
Yes.
Up against beautiful and sophisticated.
Exactly. And I'm slowly weaving. I'm proud of myself. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back because I've slowly begun to weave colors into my design. I think, you know, when you're trying to like figure out your design aesthetic, for me,
totally.
When I started
and it changes.
It does. It evolves over time. Yeah. And so now I'm slowly beginning to incorporate color a little bit more so that everything is just not like stark white walls. And so
no, but I mean the way you use blue is really like that bedroom with the
thank you
with that like dark slate blue and
thank you,
really beautiful.
Yeah, I love dark, moody colors. I'm one of the people.
I feel like that's a very Sag Harbor thing too.
Yes.
The palette of Sag Harbor is so sexy and moody and sophisticated.
Oh, I love Sag Harbor. Like when I grow up, yeah, that's.
I'm glad to hear you say that too. I'm like, when I grow up, and my kids are like, "Whoa, you're gonna get older."
I mean, I'm only 21.
Yeah. Oh my God, you've aged under a year
Yeah.
in this conversation. You were 22 at the beginning, and now you're 21. I like where this is going.
Right.
So you've got like a Zen sensibility, but you bring in this like these cool Fred Flintstone pieces.
Yeah.
Where when you travel abroad, where do you like going?
Oh, okay. Hands down, my favorite places are gonna be London and Paris. I hate to like be cliche with those, but if I
Well,
could
there's a
live,
reason why people love them, right?
yes. Oh my God, I love Paris because they have all of the beautiful like vintage markets. So
Mm-hmm.
Paris, like I love that. But if I could live any place else, just because like I love London. Like I love the old Harry Potter like
Yeah,
cobblestone.
yeah, totally. You're
Like,
obviously a man because women in high heels, like
oh, that
it's
probably
less
that
adorable.
probably wouldn't work. You would need a nice flat. But so for me, it's London and Paris. It's Europe. Overall, I'm a really big like again that whole like old Harry Potter world. Like, give me a old little English cottage, that has like moss and greenery growing
Yeah,
up the side of it, and I have a little picket, fence.
yeah.
That give me that all day. And so that's where I love to go when I think about like vintage pieces.
Do you bring that into your design? Do you
I
like working
try
with
to.
antiques?
Yes, I do. You know what? I'll show you another thing because I'm
Yes,
always
please.
showing and telling. So one of the things that I love to do is I love to go and get old like vintage
Yeah.
picture frames because like my artwork, and this is one of my set design tricks. I go and get my artwork off of Etsy.
Uh-huh.
Don't
I
tell
love
me.
Etsy.
Yes,
I love Etsy.
but
I get tons of stuff off of Etsy.
yeah, but I'll find like old vintage frames, and that's one of the things. Like I can pick it up, I can put it in my suitcase, or I can take it with me, and I don't have to worry about those things being torn up along the way. But I love old vintage frames. Like that's kind of like my go-to when I'm trying to like get my clients to kind of like weave in some antiques.
Yeah.
That's kind of like where I always start because
That's the gateway drug.
yeah, it is. It is. It opens up so many doors.
It's fun. It sounds like what you bring that extra layer of set design to your interior design. So the creating of a mood, knowing what mood you're going for. That's very exciting. So what's next? What are you up to? What do you, well, obviously we're all in this crazy moment. So let's pretend it's over.
Yes.
Let's pretend it's
yes.
over. Let's pretend it's over. What do you want to do?
Oh,
what's the first thing you're going to do?
Well, the very first thing I want to do, obviously, I think like everyone else, is travel. I'm a big fan of the Soho House, and so that's my go-to place. And so I want to take a trip abroad. I want to do a makeup birthday trip. So for
your 21st,
my 18th. So I'm Benjamin Button. It just keeps
like, I'm gonna be goo-gooing, holding a rattle by the end of this.
By the end of this, yes, I will be an infant.
You're gonna have to lose that facial hair.
I know, exactly.
Within the next 20 minutes.
No, you know what? I need a makeup trip. So honestly, I turned 40 in December of last year, and I missed my birthday trip I was going to Johannesburg in Cape Town.
Oh, have you ever been?
No,
I haven't been either. That's someplace I really want to go.
Oh gosh, so that's my next big thing that I want to do, and
that's a big trip.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
That's a 20-hour flight, right?
Yes, I've been saving up all of my frequent flyer miles so that I can ride in class for that particular trip. So I'm very excited when I'll be able to go again. And then work-wise, honestly, things really started picking back up for me. I'd say about 3 months ago. I also do visual merchandising. I have many hats, and so
you really do. So who do you visual merchandise for? And what does that cover?
Yeah, so I work with a brand called Inspired Closets, and I go in and I do all of their visuals. So it's kind of like, I hate to use IKEA as the example. When you walk through an IKEA showroom, and the living room is set, and the dining room is set.
Sure.
I do the same thing for Inspired Closets brand, and I go and I set up all of the vignettes for all of their showrooms. And so I'm like on number 65 at this point. So I am, as a matter of fact, I am flying out this evening to go set up another location. So I'm taking, like, I'm one of those people that's
Where are you flying to?
California. I'm flying to California.
Can you please be very, very safe?
I have to take a COVID test every week. So
I think I had to go somewhere like last week or the week, right before I yanked my kids out of school. And people were like inches behind me. Because I think we all forget when we're in an airport.
Yes.
Like we've forgotten. It's just your dog brain says, oh, this is how you walk through the airport.
Right.
And I had to turn around and say, like, do you mind? Could you please? I must have sounded like such a bitch. But I was like, could you please back up a little?
You have to. You have to. No, I take my test weekly and I just try to be as safe as possible.
Now that I've found you, I don't want to lose you.
Oh.
So please be careful.
No, I promise. I promise.
From one, going right into the belly of the beast. That's it. I mean, what are you going to do with the curfew? And
well, I mean, I think the thing, I'll be working and, we'll eat it from
they'll keep you protected.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have all of our protective garb and, it's just myself and my assistant, so it's not super crazy. So we get the job done. But
I know. I'm sorry. I just put like a major damper on that.
Oh no! It's fine. I think it's one of those things I had to learn how to navigate that space because as an independent contractor, it was very rough in the beginning. I didn't know what was going to happen.
None of us did. It's a scary, scary thing.
Yeah, it definitely. So I try to order as many things as I can online just to kind of, prevent me from having to constantly go to showrooms. But we get it done and we're safe.
So that makes me think, okay, you have the furniture line. You obviously know how to set these spaces up like backwards, forwards. What other lines are you doing? Because clearly you should be doing an art line with these frames.
Oh,
God. You should do a frame line based upon your collection. I just feel like, you should be at High Point every time with your stuff.
I'm hoping, I obviously like the past 2 High Points I had to forego.
Sure.
But I have a few
I was there alone.
I know. I'm hoping I'm going to bring my mother, my good luck charm. But I'm hoping some other things will blossom and open up. I have a few things. A lot of things that I've been doing lately have been with brands. So, for instance, I have to deck out my entire apartment next week because I'm doing a Christmas walkthrough of my space with House Beautiful. Awesome. And I can't say who the client is, but it's a really, really big brand that I'm working with, and I'm super excited.
Well, that's the brand you should partner with in whatever category they work in.
And that's what I'm hoping for.
But I mean, do you ask? I ask. I cold call.
Really?
I push myself in that door.
I like
People
that.
People don't see me coming. I pick up the phone. I'm like, hello. I don't know why I always mimic my voice that way, but I'm like, hello, my name's Alexa Hampton. I'm a decorator.
Right.
And sometimes people just flat out know me, like, who are you? No. But yeah.
Well, you never know. What I'm honestly learning is, it doesn't hurt to ask. The worst you're going to get told is no. And so why not stick your neck and go out there and, and try it?
And also, and I've mentioned this before in 52 Weeks, I was talking to Tom Felicia once about being a partner with product. And he's like, if you're a nice person and you're a fun person, and it like, there are tons of talented people, of course. Yeah. We're all vying for these things. But if on top of that, you're a fun and good partner, that counts for something.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, be fun to work with, make it easy for the person, do everything, you can to promote and do it. You just your personality in addition to your talent, and the fact that somebody asked earlier, is there anything you don't do? You're the whole Megillah.
You know what? I'm very blessed and I don't take it for granted. I've worked really hard. I've slept on a lot of sofas. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. No, seriously, I've slept on a lot of friends' sofas to get to this point. And I love it. And, I know that my goal, and I tell people all the time, and not to compare myself, but I want to be the Brown, Nate Berkus, or Martha Stewart. And so
no, I think it's good for, I used to use like Bill Blass as my,
yes,
I wanted to find someone not in our field.
Yes.
And be like, I don't want to be stuck by the ceiling of what our industry does. Yes. I want to find somebody in another field and be like, so I think you should totally say that. Put that out there.
No, I'm trying to, because honestly, one day I want to be on a show like, remember the Chew? Like, I want to be able to be on a panel and just kind of talk about and blab about anything. And so that's like the ultimate goal.
You may call me if there's a blab show.
Yes.
I'm available.
We should do one together. We'll just
chit chat. So you said about 3 months ago, things started cooking again.
Yeah.
Is it all across the board of your business, or did it start off with the visual merchandising? Like, what are you noticing in the marketplace that's waking up first?
I mean, honestly, my residential, that line picked up first, because I have so many clients. Like, I just signed on with a new Chicago client last week. I think so many people are like, they've been stuck.
You love a hotspot.
Right.
Like, where is COVID raging? I'm going there.
Gosh, but whenever you do a designer show house, that's where the clients call from. So it just happens. But I would say most people are beginning to they've sat in their houses for so long, and now they've had time to mull over things, and they're constantly, looking at these incompleted spaces. And so I got a lot of phone calls for that. And then also like people trying to use spaces in unconventional manners. Like I got a call about, can I like random
like things. A sex dungeon as an office.
I haven't got that one yet. However, if a check is a check, like if they cut me a check, I'll find you some leather straps, fine.
Right.
But
we can make this into a great office space.
Yeah, exactly. As a matter of fact, I think the new color for Sherwin-Williams was Urbane, and so that's like a dark, moody color. We can totally use them. But I have found a lot of people like converting extra spaces into gyms. I've gotten a couple of clients who are like, I'm tired of like my children being my coworkers, and we're all like living in this one living room space. And so I'm learning how to now
murder children.
Well, also just like, how do we rework all of these open concepts? Because open concepts were like the biggest thing. And so now my clients are kind of like,
I have always been a fan of a wall.
Well,
or a pocket door.
Now, now people want walls. And so I'm learning like how to readjust and bring walls back into the equation. Yeah. So, but my residential phone, I think that one started ringing first, just because people are in their spaces now. And I think I think the importance of, living in a space that you love, is
loving the space in which you live.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you really have to. You have to now.
Yeah, you really do. I wonder if it'll keep that way. I wonder if we'll all keep this in our institutional memory. Like, we're good. We're going to get the vaccine, but will we remember this? Will we be like scarred by it and keep these rooms with desks so we can all...
I have a feeling that we will, because I think in a minute, I hope this is not the case, but I think office plazas are going to become like these skeleton like places where now I think businesses are looking at it from a financial aspect, and it's like, hey, we can cut costs if employees work from home. And I think that's still going to cause people to continue, in this direction where we will be working from home, because I think businesses see now like you can do things remote. So
you think we're all going to be converting these office buildings into residential?
Possibly. I mean, I honestly haven't thought about what we converted.
I know, but like who can see in the crystal ball?
Yeah, but I've just honestly been thinking about like all these barren office plazas, and it's like there are no more cars in the parking lot. So what do we do now? And so I think that as designers, we will have to kind of step up to the plate and help people, rethink these spaces. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So back to your business. You are set designing.
Yes.
You are visual merchandising.
Yes.
You are a product designer.
Yes.
You're an interior designer, and you are a TV presence.
You just exhausted me right there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm about to have a panic attack.
Were you
like,
aware of this?
Oh, I'm like, I owe somebody a presentation of something. Like right now, I'm panicking.
Do you sleep much? What do you do to recharge? Like get all of this, because your creative energy is like palpable. You just so energetic. Where does it come from?
You know what? I am a big like self-help type of person. So for me, I'm all about preservation of self. And so I constantly go to the day spa. My favorite.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I love airy ancient baths. Like that is like my favorite spa, and I constantly like go there to recharge.
I've never even heard of it. Where is it? What is it?
Oh, it's in Tribeca. And so they have one in Chicago and a couple in Spain. But basically when you walk in, it feels like you're in this like, I don't know, it looks like a Grecian spa.
Like that Roman bath?
Yeah, exactly. And they have like 6 different baths and they're all different temperatures. And
do you have to get naked?
No, you don't. Nope. No, as a matter of fact, they don't allow you to. You have to wear clothing. Because I've been to one of those like that. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable in here.
I would not enjoy that. Oh, that would not be fun.
No, this one is completely clothed. And it, as a matter of fact, I think they went there on like Sex and the City back in the day. But it's a beautiful spa. But I do that a lot. And then pre-COVID, I'm kind of like the glue with my friends. So I'm the one who's like constantly like the planner. So at least once a week, or I do 2 things once a week. And I don't do it now, but I plan a weekly gathering with my friends, whether it's just like game night or us just watching a television show.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is I choose a different restaurant every single week that I go to that I've never been to before.
This is amazing.
Well, I feel like, you know, that especially living in New York City, like, or any city, it really doesn't matter where you live. Like, that's
inspiring.
Yeah, well,
I'm always of the mind like, oh, you know, I should be working more. And when I'm not working, oh, I just want to be in bed. So like I only have the 2 speeds. Well, you know, like inanimate and animate.
But you know what I've really learned during COVID is the art of saying no and the art of cutting off. And so I put my phone on do not disturb, and at 8 o'clock I don't answer any emails or texts. I don't care if my clients see me on Instagram or Facebook. I don't care. I'm not responding, and I will respond the next day at 9 a.m. So I've given myself a cutoff. And so
that's how you protect yourself.
I had to, because if not, you're like, if you respond at 1 a.m., that sends a message to the client that, oh, he's up. And like, they expect you to respond. I had to stop. Like, we're allowed to have lives. And I think, you know, because of, so social media has a plus and a minus. And, you know, people are just constantly connected to you. So you have to have a shut off valve. You have to.
I think I'm probably abusing my coworkers because time has become so bizarre that I think I text and I call them too frequently when I should not. So I'm glad we're having this conversation. I'm going to recommit to like leaving them alone after 5:30.
They're gonna love
and like
you for
don't text them on weekends. And I used to do things like, you know, I'll forget, so I'd send an email and say don't open till Monday. But I think I've let myself really slide. So I'm going to take your advice, because it's somebody's saying you need boundaries. Like we do need boundaries for ourselves and also for these people we count on. Somebody's calling you.
Absolutely. No, you know what? My phone, my battery, my poor little battery.
Are you dying? What are you on? What number?
Oh, we got enough to make it to the end of this talk. If not, I love you all.
Medical.
And
How
I did
much
not
battery
make up
do
on
we
purpose,
have left?
I promise.
Yeah, somebody just said, which makes your coworkers think you expect them to work 24/7. Yeah, it's rude. Yeah. It's rude. I am stopping. I'm recommitting. I'm going to be better. Because I certainly, like I'll put my phone down on the weekend and I won't pick it up.
Because we can't, because the other thing is like, we're constantly working. Like we could be on Instagram and like, oh my gosh, this will work for a client's house. And it's like, you have to stop. Like, because you can't text your client that picture in that moment, or, you know, like, or my clients will text me on a Saturday, like, oh, I'm at Crate and Barrel and I saw this. And I'm like, great. But now I'm not responding to that until Monday morning. Like,
Yeah.
no, we're not going to do that. I had to cut my friends off too. Like, brunch time is brunch time. I don't want to go with you to Home Goods after brunch because I don't want to walk through here and look at vases. I don't. I promise you, I don't. So I've had
I'm staying for the omelet, but I'm leaving for the vase.
Yeah. This is the other favorite. They bring me to a friend's house and oh, you're a designer. I'm sure you want to see my house. I promise you, I don't. And I'm not. I've gotten really good at that. Like, I don't. Like, I'm not judging you. I just want to like shut it all off and just like drink my wine.
I have friends who I think I'll be critical, and I'm not gonna be critical. Like, I can totally, I can exist in somebody's house and not
look at it.
Yes. Do that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I can appreciate it if there are moments of beauty and stuff, but I'm not going to go catalog like, oh, well, that's wrong.
Right.
So okay, we've got 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
Can I tell you what I need you to do?
What is that?
Because you need another job.
Okay.
So I think with set design and what you're describing about what you did in the show house with Tony Manning, where they bought all the furniture and you only had to send back the accessories, I feel like our accessories world is not robust enough.
Okay.
And I certainly want to do accessories. I don't know with whom, but I'll figure it out. But there need to be more accessories because they've got a shelf life that is much like they die much more rapidly.
Yeah.
Like once you see that X too many times, it's over.
Yes.
Like I don't want to see that there's that very cool, well, I don't even want to say it because I don't want to offend anybody. But like you see that thing like, oh, I know exactly where you got it. I have that catalog. Enough already.
Yeah.
We need to find like fast fashion accessory producer. And you definitely need to be doing it because if you have the set design background and the merchandising and the design, like you must have many more. You must know exactly what's missing from the market.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, like you said, it's just finding the right brand. I learned so many things this is my first time working with a brand. And so I just learned, I think that first time for everyone, anytime you do anytime the first time, you just learn so much. And yes, like even right now, I have a couple of products that we are revamping. So I had some really big brands approach me, like Thomasville Furniture even wanted to talk to me about a couple of pieces, but I just learned like the scale of things, like the sizing that for shipping. It was just so many nuances that you don't.
And the price point. There's like a happy price point where people will buy.
Because there can be so many wonderful things that you want to do, but if the dollars don't add up, the brands, it doesn't work. And then I also didn't know, like, when you're talking about wholesale consumers, right? The buyers who are coming in there, they have like you said, a certain number in mind, but they're also like, honestly, the biggest thing which blew my mind was the fact that they love sets. They love a set of things. They're like,
I thought for a minute you said they love sex.
Oh,
but okay. They love sets.
Oh,
you mean they love like a suite of things?
Yes, they like a set. So they like this piece to complement this. Doesn't have to be exactly the same. But I had no idea because as designers, we wouldn't dare match any of the pieces. Never. But they like for things to have coordinating or alternate pieces that
and not because people are buying them all together, but because they like certain
exactly. And so
aspects.
It just blew my mind because I never thought about design in that manner, and so it's just so different, and I'm learning so much on how to navigate that space. But coming back to the accessories, that's something I would love to do. But
I think it has to have a real, I don't know, you know what I mean. I don't know what you know what I mean by this. Fast revolutions.
Yes.
Maybe limited editions. Maybe
does.
A group of designers, maybe like 50 of us, need to get together, each have like accessories.
I like that.
And shoot out a different line every 6 months.
I like
and just
that.
A limited edition. So that we're not seeing the same 3 mossy balls in a bowl. Like I like those mossy balls.
Right.
They're like enough already.
Right, but you know what? By the time it makes it to the model home, like it's time to let it go. Like by the time,
and it's more than made it to the model
yes.
home. Those mossy balls have been around my entire life.
No more mossy balls. You heard that right here on Alexa Hampton's Instagram. No more.
I
mossy
feel bad
balls.
saying that those mossy balls have served me well.
Yes.
Yeah, we need. Oh, somebody can't see your name. Pronounce your name, will you?
Oh, it's Mikel, Mikel. So Mikel Welch.
It's not Raquel Welch. It's Mikel Welch.
No, but you know, every time I call the showroom, they're like Raquel. I'm like, no, it's not.
You're like,
Raquel.
do I sound like Raquel? Mikel. Yes, one of my sons, whose name is Michael, is Michaelis.
Oh,
and
nice.
that is so difficult for people that we just threw up our hands and said Michael.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I do that. I like.
Sometimes you just go with Raquel.
Well, with the Uber, they're like Michael. Yes, whatever. Yes, let's do this.
Yeah. I think I can let you go for your battery. I'm concerned. I don't want it to shut off. I want to be able to say goodbye before. I don't want it to be like you cut direct.
No, this was so much fun. This was so much fun.
This was so much fun. You're so energetic. You're so, you're inspiring.
Well, thank you.
We should all be so excited to, you risked your life on Craigslist. Thank God you made it through.
Yes, thank God.
it just shows, like, if you have a deep desire, you can figure out a way.
Yes.
Hopefully people will not do such a dangerous way.
Yes.
But you really figured it out.
Well, thank
so
you.
Impressed.
Thank you.
And please give your mother my best.
I will. She I just talked to her a little bit ago because she's got to send me some documents so I can get my license updated. So yes, she's good.
You need to bring her to market next time, or to this meeting with that brand.
Yeah,
she's your lucky charm.
We share a room, so the room is booked. Like she's already she's written in my writer. She comes along.
All right, so I would really like to meet her.
Yes.
And yeah. Thank you so much, Mikel.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Wait, do a live through the airport. Yes, everybody wants to make sure that you're safe when you go to California.
Yes.
So can you take a picture of yourself fully safe and swathed?
Yes.
And make sure we all know that you're good.
Yes, I'm going to do that at the airport. I'm going to tag you in the picture so everybody will know.
Please do.
Yes, I will.
Please do. I can't let my sweet 21-year-old friends get ill. All right, kisses. Thank you so much. It's an inspiration talking to you.
Well, thank you all, and I appreciate just being able to just tell my story. So hopefully it can inspire someone else.
It has me. I can only imagine that everyone else who hears you feels the same way.
Oh, thank you.
Kisses, and I hope to speak to you soon.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.